Saturn will run out of rings, and it will happen much faster than previously thought, according to research carried out by the NASA Space Flight Center and published in the scientific journal Icarus. This news surprised everyone who has seen the amazing images of Saturn surrounded by its distinctive rings of ice and rock. Saturn's rings are made up of fragments of rock and ice and dust from a few meters in diameter to the size of a grain of sand. These fragments are distributed in thousands of rings that together make up a large system that is 400 kilometers wide, slightly greater than the distance between the Earth and the Moon. A new NASA investigation works with the data obtained by the Cassini probe, which investigated Saturn's rings, and the results were compared with those of the observatory, and the conclusion was categorical. Saturn's rings are disappearing. According to calculations, Saturn's ice rings are being evaporated by means of from a breeze that is attracted by the gravity of the planet. According to astronomers, the rings of Saturn lose almost 120,000 cubic meters of ice every day. According to this theory, Saturn could be completely without its rings. According to Alejandro Ferret, professor at the UNAM Astronomy Institute, the most remarkable thing about this research is that it can be detected from the observatory that a part of the rain coming from the rings, and they have managed to observe in infrared that flow of water particles that is entering Saturn's atmosphere. In other words, the rings are going towards Saturn. According to Dr. Jose Franco, a scientist from the Institute of Astronomy of the UNAM. The Cassini probe investigated the composition of the particles located between Saturn and its rings and discovered that precisely the rings are falling towards Saturn. According to the investigations, Saturn began to lose its rings 10 years ago, so the cause of this loss is being studied. One of the theories is that Saturn could be suffering an increase in the radiation coming from the Sun, but this is illogical because if that were the case, a great increase in radiation would also be felt on Earth. But this theory leads one to think about the possibility that indeed Saturn is receiving an increase in radiation but coming from another sun that is getting closer and closer to ours due to the great distance between Saturn and our Sun. The radiation that our Sun transmits to it is very little, so Saturn has managed to keep its ice rings, but now with the radiation coming from another sun, the rings have begun to melt. This other sun could not be other than Nemesis, evil twin of the Sun next to Nibiru, its main planet. The only cause of the sudden melting of Saturn's rings could only be the proximity of Nibiru next to its star Nemesis. Now there is nothing left but to wait for Nibiru to become visible to the naked eye in our skies.